Hey everyone, welcome to Amanda's Book Corner. I'm Amanda, and this is my review of The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. I got this book in March 2020. I hadn't heard about it before Book of the Month made it one of their selections that month, but I was instantly enthralled by it and I knew I had to have it. I don't know why it's taken me so long to read it. I've been excited to read it this whole time, but I finally did read it. That was partially because the last book I read was the Mozart Code, and this one is also about Mozart. So I thought they'd be great bookends to each other. The Kingdom of Back starts in 1759 in Salzburg, Austria. There we meet the Mozart family. We all know who Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is. He's very famous and he has been for hundreds of years for obvious reasons. But this book is by his older sister, Maria Anna, or Nannerl as she's affectionately known. Wolfgang is affectionately known as Wolferl throughout this book. So this book is about Mozart, but the other one, the older sister who has sadly been forgotten to history. When this book begins, Nannerl is 8 years old and Wolferl is about to turn 4. She is a child prodigy. She's already extremely skilled at playing the clavier, which I assume would be like a piano, a harpsichord, a clavichord, something like that. And although she's highly skilled, she still feels like she doesn't ever quite live up to her dad's expectations of her. Early on, even though Wolferl is still very young, he starts playing the clavier too, and he quickly starts to outshine his older sister in some ways. It's clear that he has a particular ear for music, and he seems to possibly have absolute pitch, I'm not sure. And he also quickly starts composing his own music. Now Nannerl also wishes that she could compose music, but she's a woman, and this is a time when women could not compose. She was afraid to even try because she knew that if she did, her dad would be furious, he would probably burn her compositions. It would look bad for anyone who would potentially want to marry her because of course her life path is to get married and have children. And no one wants a disobedient wife. As much as she longs to have a career in music like her younger brother Will, she wants to play music, she wants to compose music, she wants to be remembered by people and respected for her music. Despite all of her talent and all of her wishes for herself, she knows that she doesn't have that kind of control over her life, and she knows that society has different expectations of her. I really enjoyed seeing the Mozart family through Nannerl's perspective, and I really enjoyed getting to know this girl who has so much ambition, so much talent, but she feels undervalued. She feels like her dad isn't proud of her. She feels jealous of her younger brother, even though she loves him, but she's envious of his talent and the kind of attention and respect that he gets and the kind of career that he surely will have. So Nannerl is a complicated character and she has a lot of conflicting emotions, but I found her really relatable and really interesting, and I liked this kind of feminist perspective even though it is the late 1700s. In addition to getting to see the Mozart in a rather realistic perspective, we also get to see the fantasy world that Nannerl and her younger brother Wolferl shared together. Now this is a real thing. I checked on Wikipedia and they really did invent this kind of make-believe world that they called the Kingdom of Back. It was called the Kingdom of Back because everything is backwards. The trees are upside down, there are twin moons in the sky, the ocean is extremely warm and inviting, even though it's nighttime all the time. It's a really magical realm that they dreamed up. In this book, it's kind of hard to say whether it's actually happening, which would categorize the book as a fantasy, or whether it really is just children's imagination and make-believe. You can read this book as a fantasy or as something more magical realism, but either way, it is a dreamy and enchanting novel. I really enjoy Marie Lu's writing. Her writing is beautiful, it is breathtaking. Throughout the book, I was really impressed by several passages and how gorgeously things were written. It's very lyrical and musical in style, which I think matches the characters rather well since they are musicians themselves. It has a lot of memorable lines that I should probably go back and write down so I can make note of them as good quotes. But the book does feel very dreamy and ethereal, and I loved that. Some might say it's kind of a slower pace. I have seen some people say that, but for me it worked perfectly. I don't mind a slower pace if the characters are compelling, if the writing is beautiful, and if it has a certain mood that keeps you captivated. For me, it did. It had all three of those. Over the course of a decade, Nannerl, and sometimes her brother also, are visited by this mysterious, fantastical figure. His name is Hyacinth. He first comes to Nannerl when she makes that wish that she will be remembered, immortalized by her music and her talent, and he agrees to help her achieve that goal if she helps him achieve his goal. Every now and then he visits her and takes her into the Kingdom of Back, this magical place, to complete a quest for him. There are a handful of quests that Nannerl and sometimes Wolferl complete for him, and it does feel very much like an old school fable. They're simple tasks and they involve danger. They involve going up against a witch in the ocean and against a sleeping monster to get a sword. They have to face all kinds of interesting and dangerous creatures, but the quests themselves are fairly short and simplistic. It feels like an old fable. It feels like, I don't know, something from the Brothers Grimm, perhaps. And it lends this book a kind of childlike bedtime story quality, which I really enjoy. And again, it matches that kind of dreamy vibe that I mentioned. Marie Lu does primarily write young adult fiction, and this book I think is categorized as young adult itself, but for me it didn't really feel specifically YA. To me it felt like a book that's more timeless or ageless. I could see this being an adult book that just happens to be written about children, but I can see how it could appeal to teenagers and young adults as well. It could even kind of work as a children's book. It does kind of have that little kid fable vibe to it, in part because of those quests that Nannerl and Wolfrol complete while in the Kingdom of Back. But for me, I think this book could appeal to all ages. It has a magical quality, but it also has a very personal quality. It's about a family. It's about the close relationship between a brother and a sister who love each other, and yet there is a certain amount of competition, especially from Nannerl's side, and envy from Nannerl's side. I also really loved getting to know these real-life historical figures through fiction and as children in particular. On the one hand, Wolfrol is described as being a rather fragile child. He is small for his age, he's very prone to illness, and yet he also is such a lively, charming, kind young boy, and he really loves his sister, and he's her earliest and perhaps only champion in her goal is to write her own music. He really looks up to her, and I love seeing that relationship between the two of them. Nannerl, as I mentioned, is complicated, and although she does truly love her brother, she can't help but feel a little bit jealous of the attention he gets and the future he has, and how she's just as talented as he is, and yet it's like she's never quite enough. I think if you have a sibling, then this book could definitely appeal to you, and you can see that kind of conflict between siblings when they love each other, but something doesn't feel quite equal between them. I have a younger sister myself, so I can definitely relate to certain aspects of this, and it made it that much more personal and enjoyable for me. So throughout the whole novel, I really loved everything. It was beautiful and magical and relatable and personal, feminist. I just really loved everything about this book, so I give it 5 stars. And this is the first book I've read by Marie Lu, but based on how much I love this one, I'm definitely interested in going back and reading some of her other books as well. So I hope you enjoyed this book review video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And to make sure you don't miss any of my other videos, please ring the bell to get all my notifications. I'll be making book review videos like this one at least once or twice every week, and I'm also making additional content now that you don't want to miss. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!